Hey guys, it's Amy here, and today I bring you a Christmassy themed video. I've got my Christmas jumper on, I'm getting in the festive mood, let's go. So Lauren at Lauren in the Books did this video and I really like the idea of it, so I thought I would steal it and do a video of my own. Basically, the video consists of me sharing books from my shelves which spell out the word Christmas. In Lauren's video this year, she shared books which she is looking forward to reading, so the ones she hasn't read yet, but in my one I'm going to do what she did last year, which is share books that she has read before that maybe you haven't seen on the channel, because I have a lot of books which I imagine you guys haven't seen because I owned a lot of books before I started making videos, and they're just ones that I've maybe just never spoken about. So today I'm going to share ones which I think I haven't spoken about in a long time or ever spoken about, so let's go. So to begin we have Letter C, and I'm going to choose Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I've read a number of Neil Gaiman books and I really like these kind of ones that are aimed at a younger audience. There's the Graveyard book as well, which I really enjoyed, and Coraline is like suitably creepy but not so creepy that it scares me because I'm not a big fan of horror. So if you don't know, this book is about a young girl named Coraline. Here she is on the cover. She is not particularly happy with her life and she discovers this kind of doorway into a parallel universe where like there is the other mother and it's seemingly perfect in this other universe and everything. She wants to be in this universe, but she has to go through some certain things to permanently fix herself in this universe, and it's maybe not all she expects, and it's just brilliant. It's dark, twisty, weird, and just Neil Gaiman really. So yes, if you're a fan of Neil Gaiman and haven't picked this one up, I would highly recommend. For letter H, I choose The Host by Stephanie Meyer. I mean, if you've been on my channel a little while, you probably have heard me speak about this one before. It is one of my all-time favourite books, which I find strange because Twilight was like so different to this book. To try and sum it up quickly, this basically follows the kind of ruin of the world as these alien kind of beings have come down and taken possession of people's bodies. So the humans are the hosts to these alien things inside them, and it follows this main girl called Melanie as she has one of these aliens put inside her, and really what's meant to happen is you're meant to just disappear, and Melanie is not meant to be there anymore, but she fights and she kind of becomes one with the alien presence in her mind who's called Wanderer, and they then kind of battling with each other as to what is right and wrong and whose side they're on, whether they're on the humans or the alien side, and it's just beautiful. It brings up all these wonderful discussions of like what it means to be a human, and every time I just love it so much. I really would recommend people go and read this one. Moving on to letter R, we have Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This one definitely had a lot of buzz around it when I first started BookTube in like 2013. There was a lot of hype. This one is set in a future where everyone kind of logs in to this virtual game, and this very wealthy man who owns the game dies, and he puts all of his money as like a jackpot inside the game, and all of the people who log into this virtual reality every day are on the hunt for this treasure, and they're all fighting for it basically, and it follows this one young boy and his kind of, you know, mission to try and find this money. If you're a lover of gaming, sci-fi or 80s pop culture, this is probably the book for you. It's a really, really great read, and I think I'm due a reread, to be honest. Moving on to letter I, we have I Captured the Castle by Dodie Smith. This was one of my favourite books for a couple of years ago, I believe, or maybe it was last year. This was just a brilliant read. If you're a fan of the Brontes or Jane Austen or anyone who writes those kind of books, I think you would love this book. Honestly, go and pick it up. So it's told through the perspective of a girl named Cassandra, and it's her family who are all living in this dilapidated castle in the like English countryside, and unfortunately for them, the owners of this castle, who are these two strapping young American guys, come over, and it's them trying to like work out what's going to happen, if they're going to have to give up the castle, and whether Cassandra and her sister end up kind of getting along quite well with these young American guys, and it's like a love story but more than that, and it's just brilliantly told, brilliantly witty, and just, yeah, one I would definitely recommend. Am I spelling Christmas right here? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got it right. Next we've got letter S, and I'm going to go with The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is a awesome book, and again, it's another one I want to reread soon. This one is set in Barcelona, and to try and sum it up, there's just so much that goes on. Like, if you like romance, if you like books about books, libraries, murder, mystery, just everything is in this book. Like, it's not just one thing at all. This one follows the story of a boy named Daniel, and his father takes him to this mysterious library and says that he can pick any book and the book will be his forever. He picks this one book called The Shadow of the Wind, and he then uncovers this huge mystery behind the author of the book and all the copies of the book which have mysteriously kind of been destroyed and things, and there's just so much that goes on. It's a pretty epic novel, and it's definitely my favourite from Carlos Ruiz Zafón that I've read so far. For letter T, we're going to go for The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Brontë. This one follows the story of a man named Gilbert who falls in love with a woman named Helen who moves in to Wildfell Hall near where he lives, and she's very mysterious. No one really knows where she comes from, no one knows her past, and Gilbert endeavours to uncover the past that she has left behind, and in doing that discovers all these big things about her, and the story kind of switches from his perspective halfway through and goes into her backstory, and you read through her perspective. For the time that this was written, this is such a fantastic novel for women and for feminists, and just like, it's amazing. Like, if you read it you just think, wow, this is so far ahead of its time. It's fantastic. For letter M, I'm going to recommend The Midwich Cuckoos by Wyndham. It's set in a small town named Midwich, and suddenly on one random day some weird occurrence happens where everyone in the village like passes out, and no one knows how this has happened, no one knows what's going on, and they're worried that something has happened to the people in this village, but then everyone kind of gets back up again and everyone's absolutely fine, and people go on living their lives and they don't really know what has occurred in that moment in time. And then sometime in the future, all of the women in this village are suddenly pregnant all at the same time, and it's basically following what happens to these women, what they've been impregnated with, and the kind of birth of whatever has happened during this strange occurrence and how they've all got pregnant and things. It's just a really fun novel. If you like sci-fi and quirky older books set in this kind of genre, I would highly recommend you go and pick this one up. For letter A, we have The A.B.C. Murders by Agatha Christie. This is a Hercule Poirot novel. I speak about Poirot all the time because I love him so much, so I'm always going to be recommending him to you guys. Obviously, it's a murder mystery novel. We all know what Agatha Christie writes. In this one, the murders are going through the alphabet basically, so we have someone murdered and their name begins with A, and then so on and so forth, and Hercule Poirot is trying to solve this murder before the person who is murdering people gets all the way down to Z basically. If you haven't picked up Agatha Christie, what are you doing? Go and read some now. And the final book, letter S, is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I feel like I have spoken about this one before, but it may be quite a long time ago and I really enjoyed it, so I want to talk about it again. This is a like post-apocalyptic novel set after like 90% of the world has been killed off by some sort of like bacterial infection. It follows so many different storylines that it has ones that are set kind of before the end of the world happens, and then ones that have just kind of after, and some like people who've survived that, and then it's set also like 20 years after, so there's people who have never known any different, who've actually been born into the world where there's like so much less population and things. Primarily follows a group of thespians, and they are kind of walking between these small villages of people and performing Shakespeare to them, but then all of that story like ties into the bigger kind of story, like the backstory of all these people and kind of before the apocalypse happened, and it's just fantastic. It really, honestly, one that I want to pick up again very, very soon. If you didn't read it because the hype was so big at the time, then I recommend just going and picking it up now, because I read it after the hype and I still thought it was fantastic. Like, it deserved the hype it got. There we are, I have spelled out the word Christmas for you in books. Let me know if you read any of these and what you thought of them, or if you have any books that you could spell out the word Christmas for me, what would you recommend to me? I'd love to hear. As always, I will leave links to Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, everything I've mentioned today down below. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I will see you soon. Bye!